Now, anger can be such a difficult emotion to deal with. You know, it's quite fiery, can be quite volatile, and there's not much space in this society to really express it either. You know, it's not like there's many spaces you can really just let it out. Can you imagine screaming or shouting in the middle of like a shopping centre? Even in your own home, even in your own house, you may be worried what the neighbours might think if they hear a raised voice. So yeah, dealing with anger can be a difficult one. And you know, people can really use that energy in positive ways as well. Like take activists, for example. They really use that fiery energy in a passionate way. They channel it into a cause that they fight for. So that could be considered a positive use of anger. And no emotion is negative or positive really. It's all just energy, and it's each emotion's trying to tell you something. It's there to be felt. But when all of this fire is coming up, it's uncomfortable. You can be lashing out at other people, and it can really change the way you think when all of that anger's sloshing around inside you. And I know from personal experience, it can really, when you go into a rage, it completely changes the way you think. And it's only once you release that energy, once that fire dissipates, that you start to see the world more clearly and calmly again. It's like a case of, I don't really know how to describe it, but yeah, when you go into that rage, it can really it can really make you see the world differently. But as I've already said, with like activists, for example, anger can really be used to empower us. And I know the Vikings, before they used to go into battle, the berserker warriors would evoke this sort of battle rage, and they'd enter this trance in which they could feel no pain when they went into battle. And their rage gave them this superhuman strength. So anger, like any other emotion, can empower us, and it's there to be felt. Now, I'm reading a book at the moment called Environmental Arts Therapy and the Tree of Life. I highly recommend it. And it kind of shares a story, an old myth that kind of explains our relationship to anger and how we can deal with it. So I'd just like to share that with you now. It's an old Norse myth about Loki's three children. Loki is one of the Norse gods. He is the trickster god. So meeting his three children can really help us to understand our relationship with anger. So his first child, the face of hell, she is the guardian of the underworld, or the shadow, or the basement where we lock our shadow away, basically. So first, to deal with our anger, we need to approach the face of hell, and she will reflect our fears to us. So the first stage is really asking what makes us afraid to express our anger. And there can be lots of different reasons for this. We might be afraid of losing control. We may be afraid that showing our anger is a sign of weakness, or that it makes us look bad. We may be afraid of that fire or that ugliness. Whatever it is, meeting the face of hell, that mirror for our fears, can really, it can help us. It helps to make us aware of the reasons why we might be avoiding anger in the first place. Once we become aware of these fears, to expressing anger and move past them, we can then move into the underworld and encounter Loki's second child, the great raging wolf, Fenrir. And this thrashing beast, this thrashing, great raging wolf, was so violent, so uncontrollable, that the gods imprisoned him in the underworld. But no chains that they could find at first could imprison Fenrir. So he sought the help of the dwarfs, who fashioned chains from untangible things, such as the roots of a mountain and the sound that a cat makes when it is frightened. And of course, this great raging wolf represents our anger, and how we so often lock it away in the shadow basement. We too bind this raging wolf with intangible chains. We bind our anger and lock it away with unseen chains such as shame and guilt. Too ashamed to show our anger, too embarrassed or guilty. Whatever the chains are, they're usually unseen. So this wolf can be raging within us, and yet we can keep it locked up. To keep our anger locked away, it's not good for us in the long run. To keep things bottled up, seething resentment or fiery anger, we can end up taking it out on others. It can end up eating away at us. So it's how do we create space for this wolf to be released? and to let all of that fire out of our system. Because it's only really once we set the wolf free that we encounter Loki's third child. And Loki's third child is the great Midgard serpent that coils around the earth. And she is symbolic of the wound that underlies all. She is the dark feminine. Indeed, when we release our anger, we get to the wound beneath it. That wound, once the anger has been released, is waiting there to be felt. And once we feel that wound, the sadness, the pain that dwells there, we can heal it and move on. So once the wolf breaks free from the chains and the wound beneath is revealed, we can heal and set ourselves free.